Welcome back to the podcast. This week, it's all about one major topic that's critical, I think, for sales success consistently, and that's a buyer persona, or sometimes known as an ICP, an ideal customer profile. So I'm going to share with you why you need one, what impact it's going to have on you, how you can make sure that the content that you share with it is going to deliver better results, and how it's going to make everything simpler for the work that you do. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of why an ICP or a customer avatar is right for you. So let me first tell you a story. When I was previously running a business I had before, I thought that my ideal customer persona was small businesses, and we had a piece of software. And by the way, we did have lots of different small businesses that worked with us. But the problem that we had was that there were 4.8 million small business owners, and because of the fact they were so varied, each one had different requirements and challenges and usage of systems and software like we had, we were always everything to everyone, not something to someone. And the long story short, that business didn't achieve what it could have done because of the fact that we didn't ideally focus on an audience and persona. And we tried to a little bit later down the line, but it was too late for then. We were afraid of then being able to focus in one area, and we got a bit distracted and thought, oh, this isn't going to work for us. And basically, we didn't want to focus on one area because we thought it might alienate others. And that's one of the biggest mistakes. When people listen to this now, they'll say, well, I don't want to focus just on one area, because if I focus on one area, what happens if I can't do business in that area? Or what happens if those customers don't want to work with me? And the reality is this, and I always say this to people, having an ideal customer persona or an avatar, and we'll talk about what the avatar looks like, doesn't mean you can't sell or work with other people. It doesn't mean to say if someone that's different to your persona comes and says, I want to work with you, that you can't work with them. Of course you can. You can have that conversation. But what the ideal customer persona or the avatar is perfect for is for when you're doing sales and marketing campaigns to win new business. And if your goal is to try and win new business and you are going after everyone and everything, then the reality is your chance of success are going to be severely diluted, mainly because most of us nowadays are interested in things that are relevant to us. So what does an ideal customer persona look like, or an avatar look like? So I wanted to just share with you, and I'll give you a couple of examples of people that, when we do this. I was doing one of these for a client the other day, and we talked about a perfect type of customer. And we talked about a person that he works with. He's in the investment space financially. And we created a potential person that is where he's a perfect fit for, where he's a perfect solution for. And we built that up based upon the existing customers that he's got now. So one of the challenges that people say to me is, well, I don't know how to create an avatar or a customer persona because I don't know how to create it. And the starting point for that, I always say, is to look at the top 3 or 4 customers that you've got, the people that you love. If you could clone them, if you could get 3 or 4 more like that, would be perfect. And what makes them so perfect? And try and write down the common characteristics of those people. It may not be that they're in a certain industry, but it may well be that there's a certain type of problem that you solve. It may well be there's a certain type of thing that you bring to them. It may well be that there's a certain type of challenge that they face. But what you do is when you start to write those details down, you identify who that audience is and what it looks like and what are the frustrations and problems and challenges that they face, what the motivations they've got. Now, I go as far as even I get an image from the person. I will, for the person, so we'll create an image of a person itself. We'll write details of their age, where they live, the car they drive, the type of house they've got, whether they've got kids, what sports they like, what hobbies they have. We'll do through everything around that person to create what we call a buyer persona. And the idea behind that persona is that once we've created that person, and we really try and get inside their mind and their thought process and what their problems are, if we can build that on existing customers, great. What it enables us to do is be in a far better position to then try and find other people similar to that who we know are going to have a similar issue and challenge. Now, when you've created a buyer persona, there's a number of things that you can do as part of that process. So there's a guide that I produce that is something that I can get you access to if you want, that will give you access to a number of questions in this area. And some of the questions that I asked and work with the clients I have on is, what's the biggest transformational thing you can do for that person? What's the biggest challenge that person is facing right now? What are they looking for when it comes to working with a solution? How big an issue is what the problem is for them? How much does it impact them? what's required for them to get success. You can get into real detail and start answering questions around what that avatar or that person is looking for to help you be in a position to then solve their challenges. And when you start to understand the challenges of your audience and the real frustrations that they're feeling and what they're going through, what it then enables you to do is to make sure that you can, do two things. You can start to create content that resonates at that particular audience. And by the way, I was just talking to Darren, my videographer, about this simple point a minute ago, and I was asking him where he's focusing, and he said, I'm focusing in this particular area. So now I know that he's focused in that area and he's got customers that work with him there. It means I can then refer him and position him in a certain way, but also I now can start to refer him to other people I know that work in that sector as well. I had another example of a financial organization I worked with a couple of weeks ago, and we brought some of their investment managers together, and a few of them said, what do they do? And they targeted everyone. And I said to them, okay, you need to be a bit more specific, start to be memorable. People don't remember networking pitches. When you go and stand up and say, we do the following, people don't remember that. But I said to this one guy, I said, what do you do? And he changed his pitch, and he said, I'm the investment manager for farming professionals in the Herefordshire area. And I was like, wow, okay. I help farmers maximize the value of their land and achieve their goals financially. I was like, wow. Now I know one or two farmers, so I'm now thinking he's the person to refer to as a result of that. So not only does it mean that you're going to be able to be better referred, the second part of this, and probably the most powerful part, is if you create that persona and you create that identity, when you're creating newsletters, when you're creating website copy, when you're creating social posts, one of the first things you can then do is go and ask yourself the question, is what I'm creating right now going to resonate towards that person, that persona that I've created? And if the answer is you look at it and go, I'm not sure, then you go back and change it. The whole idea of creating a persona is you want to target people that you think you can do business with and you're a good fit for. So if you know that you're creating a guide and it's targeted at CEOs, and an example in my case, I work with a number of CEOs in the software and financial services space, and I help them achieve sales plans and sales revenue growth. And I know the frustrations they have are that they want to grow and they're not growing quicker. They're missing out on leads and opportunities. So when I know that and I've created my persona and I speak directly to that audience about things they can do to overcome their challenges and what they might want to put in place and things to consider, it's going to resonate with those people because I'm talking directly at them. They're frustrated at things not happening the way they want it to. I'm giving them solutions for that. And then when I follow up with a prospecting to have conversations, they're more inclined to have a meeting because they know I'm focusing on issues that are relevant for them. So look, buyer personas, people think they're complicated. People think that you don't need one. People worry that, if I have this, then it means I've got to only focus on that and I can't change. No, your buyer persona might change. I said this to people a lot of the time. Tony Robbins is one of the world's greatest motivational coaches, charges $1 million a year to be a motivational guru. But he started out as someone that stopped people from smoking. And he built his business, he built an audience, and as a result of getting bigger and better and doing what he was doing and find out that he made more impact, more than just helping people stop smoking, he then was able to branch out and become this motivational speaker and person from there. Richard Branson started off, with a paper shop, basically, and a record shop that sold items. He then built his brand, his Virgin brand, and was able then to move into planes and trains and cruises and everything else. So creating a position for yourself in the market doesn't stop you from going out and winning other business. It just enables you to build a position which you can then build on from there. So I really encourage people to build an ideal customer persona or an avatar. And the ideal customer persona might well be the queries and the challenges and the issues that people have got, what frustrates your avatar most. But the persona is then trying to create, and I'll give an example one in the podcast notes below, where we actually create a person and an identity. It becomes a bit like a fictitious character. And I've even been into meetings where we've said, what would Martin think? And people say, who's Martin? Martin's our avatar. And we're trying to get ourselves so in the mind of what that persona would think and look and do in that situation that we can then adjust our messages, our communications, our approach to know what that person will do and look like. So look, this episode's quite a short one, but it's a powerful one. My question to you is, what is your ideal customer profile right now? What is your ideal avatar? If I was to able to stand up and say to you, okay, tell me who you work with, who are you going to tell me? And invariably, when I go into networking environments and meet different people, I get people telling me I'm a mixture of different companies that they work with. People take pride in it even. We work with anyone from the smallest companies to the biggest companies, from everyone to I. Well, that's fine, but if you're everything to everyone, then you're nothing to no one. So the reality is, go and focus. If you want to go into sales and business development situations, and try and win new business, try and find out and build a position for yourself. Even if you want to be a bit, I'm a specialist in helping people do this, and this, and I tend to work a lot with people in this area. That's a starting point rather than just saying we do the following. So try and create that persona, try and create that avatar, have that profile on your desk. So when you're creating content, you're creating materials, you can think, does it talk to that audience? And ironically enough, there's a client of mine, Sue Reese, who a number of years ago, when we were helping her build her business, we identified a particular type of person as a prospect that she wanted to work with. There was a guy from a company based in Oxfordshire who was the CEO of a scientific pharmaceutical company. Everything we did, we talked about that person. So even though she'd not worked with that person before, she'd worked with people in a similar role, and he was her dream client. We used to say, when we're creating this, is this going to be suitable for Gordon? Because that was the name of the guy that was the CEO. What would Gordon think to this post? What would Gordon think to this newsletter? How would Gordon react? Would he look at that and go, not interested, or think that's quite intriguing and useful? And the whole goal was to try to create that insight. Guess what? 2 years after she did it, she created that persona, and she started talking about how Gordon would feel, and he was a CEO of a pharmaceutical company. She got the chance to work with him, and she did some great business with him over a couple of years. So the reality is, we can, if we identify who we're looking for, and we know we can solve a problem for them and help them resolve an issue in their world, and actually help them solve and become better at what they do, whether it's growing their business or dealing with a challenge, it's going to enable us as business owners or sales professionals to get what we want in place. And look, I know this myself. I've even had to do further work myself on personas. I try and appeal to lots of people, because sales can work with people that sell desks as it can with people that sell software systems. But I know for me to be successful, to achieve the growth that I want, I've had to focus down. That's why I'm a specialist in the financial services and software space. But the reality is, even if I had to focus down on one of those, I could do. But the point is this: it doesn't mean to say I can't turn down other work. I've had other people coming to me in the medical field. I've had people coming to me in the transport field. I still choose to have the choice to work with them, but that's my choice. That's not where I'm spending my time and effort on a marketing front. And Alan Sugar made a great statement around marketing. He said, I've written books on marketing, checkbooks. And the reality is, when you're spending money on marketing and sales and business development, you can waste a huge amount of time and money by just going after everyone and everything. Try doing Facebook ads or Google ads when you've got a wide target market. Google and Facebook will just swallow up your money day in, day out. Whereas if you can focus on a specific audience and try and engage with that audience, your chance of success go up exponentially. So look, I hope this video has been useful. I hope the podcast, I should say, has been useful. It has given you some real insights in the value of an ICP. I really encourage you to just think a little bit about this. And by the way, come back to me if you've got questions, if you're not sure. If you think I'm talking out my backside, by the way, as well, let me know. But it's from my experience and from the experience of working with clients where they've had success, when they've been able to focus on an audience, it's given them ability to transform their revenue and build plans. So much easier to build sales plans for growth when we know who we're targeting and working on, rather than being everything to everyone. So let me know your thoughts. If you disagree, tell me. I'm happy to take those thoughts on board. But if you do agree and you think, yeah, he's right, then great. Gives you a chance to go and identify who you want to speak to and engage with. And by the way, I've launched a sales plan course that can give you the detailed information you need once you know your audience to go and implement a campaign with them. So if you're interested in hearing more about that, have a little look at ineedasalesplan.com, and we'll get you to the place where you can get a sales plan for you and your business that gets you to great results. But as I always try and do, I finish the podcast with an inspirational story. And this story today is from 2012. It's a fisherman, a guy called Jose Salvador Alvarenga. And he headed off on a short fishing trip on the coast of Mexico. But a storm blew his boat off course. And I know this from in talking to my friend Matt Garman, who rowed across the Atlantic, who said when he was rowing from Gran Canaria to Antigua, that if they'd have been 1 or 2 degrees off distance, they would have gone down into the whole of the Atlantic Ocean underneath the currents, and it would have been tough to get back. And Jose found the same situation. So he found himself in literally the middle of the Pacific Ocean. He had a companion that was with him, who unfortunately succumbed to starvation and dehydration. But Jose survived for 438 days in the Pacific Ocean. He ate sea turtles and raw fish and rainwater. and his boat washed up on shore in the Marshall Islands in January 2014. So it took from November 2012 through to January 2014. He was drifting in the Pacific Ocean, and he was then rescued. And again, I've shared stories of people that have been on boats that have sailed around the world that have lost their been stranded. But I still think these stories are incredible. People have gone through some of the toughest times. Over 1.5 years to go through that period, 1.3 years, to go through that, and still survived and came out of it at the end. And always reminds me of when I watch, gonna go home maybe tonight, watch Castaway as a film. Sometimes the toughest things can happen to us, but if we keep that belief and willingness to survive and go forward, then we can overcome anything. So hopefully you've enjoyed Jose's story. Hopefully you've given the podcast this week an interesting viewpoint. If you have and you like it, please like it, subscribe to the podcast, give us a review, share it with other people, and let's make sure we get you and others getting the results you want to look good, hit numbers, and be the champion person that you are. So until next week, have a safe and brilliant time, and I'll see you soon. Take care.